Diana today. So I hit record. All right, awesome. We still got people jumping in. Wow, this is great. Nice to see you all. And then without anything further, I'm going to hand it off to Diana. Thank you so much for joining, everyone.
Aloha. Great to see everybody. Keep putting into the chat. We'd love to know where you're coming in from. Oh, we have Louisiana, Nigeria's here. I saw the Netherlands. That's awesome. I'm going to be checking in with the chat, and we're going to use the chat a lot because I'm all about interactive presentations. So you're going to want to have your fingers ready. I want to hear where you're from. I'm going to ask you questions. Be sure to share your feedback in the chat with me. I really look forward to learning more about you and learning more about how stress shows up for you, because that's going to help us have even better results today. So how do you know if you're in the right place? You know, sometimes you go to these webinars, you don't know if you're in the right place. If you are hardworking, if you are goal-oriented, and if you value your health and happiness, just like we talk about, just like Crystal shared with us in the very beginning about blue zones, that's what this is about. It's not just about achieving success, but achieving sustainable success that's going to help us live a long, happy, healthy life. And maybe when it comes to stress, maybe you've also tried to relieve your stress with a vacation or a break, right? Or maybe you had a health problem, you tried to fix it. Maybe you tried to push through the stress, you know, maybe you've changed jobs or you've tried to get a puppy. Some of these are things that I've heard from other people that they've definitely tried when it comes to stress. So if that's you, you're in the right place. So you can go ahead, type into the chat, I'm in the right place. I'd love to know if that's you, if you know that you've been going through a lot of stress and, you know, trying vacation and trying to change jobs or all these different things, you are absolutely in the right place. We're going to talk about a long-term solution for you for that happiness, that health, and for also the performance you really want to have. So today I'm going to share 3 different tips that you can use to boost your performance and well-being. And this is about you feeling better by the end of this hour. My goal is for you to have felt a tension release inside your body by the end of this hour. That's what I want for you, is to feel better today, not tomorrow. You know, you'll have tools that you can use for tomorrow. I promise to share those with you as well. But it's about, I want you to feel better today and know that this is the start of an awesome path to you taking greater control of your stress. So I want to share a little bit about myself. I actually was born in New York City. My parents are immigrants from the Philippines. They immigrated to New York in the 1980s. So that's my mom, that's my dad, that's little me from a long time ago. And, you know, coming from a Filipino family, coming from an immigrant family, I learned that hard work equaled success. That success was all about working hard, and that if I was willing to work hard, I could be successful. So maybe if you've heard that kind of talk before yourself, you know, I'd love to hear that, you know. But what I found was, you know, as much as I listened to my parents, I ended up going to a really great high school, one of the top in all of New York City, statistically harder to get into than Harvard, they say. And it also happened to be right next to or very close to the World Trade Center. So right here where you see my mouse, this is where my high school was. And this is where I was on 9/11. And that day, that day completely changed my life. It made it very clear to me that everybody that I was kind of following or that I trusted, my teachers, all the adults around me, they had no clue what they were doing either, you know, and that was a day also that I saw my plans for life, my college plans, everything kind of flashed before my eyes. And I didn't know if I would make it to the end of that day. You know, here in Hawaii, you know, by the time you woke up, it was, you know, pretty far into the day already in New York time. This happened maybe like 3 a.m. Hawaii time. And it was a completely different experience for me. And honestly, I actually don't remember a lot of the day, but I do remember how much it impacted me and kind of changed the way I looked at the world. I ended up going to business school at University of Michigan, getting my degree in accounting and finance. And I worked on Wall Street, and I had the honor of serving and advising Fortune 500 companies in billion-dollar debt deals up until the global financial crisis, when the subprime debt market bottomed out everything changed. The market volatility went crazy, banks were closing, and I was one of the casualties of all of that. I ended up losing my job, and rather than go back to working in finance, I didn't really like that I was helping Walmart get richer. I didn't really like that I was helping McDonald's get richer. I really wanted to help real people. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to take these lemons, I'm going to turn them into lemonade, and I'm going to become a chef. So I had a chance to work for actually the guy behind the Cronut. If any of you guys know what the Cronut is, Dominique Ansel, I got a chance to work for him. That's a Cronut right there. It's a croissant donut. I even had the chance to cook for President Obama. So I've had a chance, in life to achieve a lot of success, and it seemed like hard work and passion were keys to the formula. So I was working that, I was pushing past any stress that I was feeling, any sickness that I was feeling, because I was passionate about my work and I was willing to work hard for the success, until the day that I opened 9 restaurants in 2 states on the same day. Oh, on that day, started losing my hair. And that was my wake up call, right? So that helped me realize, something is wrong. I wasn't just losing my hair. I was breaking out in hives. I had low back pain. I had foot issues. And it got so bad. My health problems got so bad. I ignored them so much, just because I was so passionate and happy to help people and to feed people, that eventually I actually couldn't do the work I loved anymore. I couldn't be a chef anymore. All of my dreams died, because I pushed too hard and I didn't pay attention to my stress. And that was honestly devastating. I was heartbroken. I never wanted to not cook. And here I was no longer able to do what I loved. I saw all these things that had been destroyed: my health, my happiness, my future, my career. And I wondered to myself, what am I going to do? How am I going to turn this lemon into some kind of lemonade? And through the work that I did to heal, through the work that I did to really transform my life, I actually became a coach. I actually became a life coach, an energy healer. And along that work, as I shared my story, I also became an international speaker, an author. So I've written a book called Manifest Your Dreams. It's a journal that you can get, that codifies my process that I've discovered for turning nightmare situations into dream results. And I'm so grateful for this opportunity that I've had in life. But I'll tell you, the transformation that I've seen for myself, for my clients, there's nothing special about us that's allowed us to do this. We were all really stressed, burned out, sick, frustrated by what was going on in life. And what we discovered was that by transforming our stress, by transforming our relationship with stress and getting to the root of the problem, we were able to still transform our results. So no matter what kind of loss you've been through, no matter what stress has cost you, no matter how stress has affected either your health or performance, today we're going to talk about how you can take back control. Take back control. And again, you're going to feel better by the end of this hour. That is my commitment to you. I want for you to feel better by the end of this hour. And I promise also to give you tools so that you're not just feeling better now, you have tools to feel better in the long run. That is what I really want for you. So let's talk about these 3 tips I'm going to share to boost your performance and well-being. This is really, for me, about realizing it's not just about hard work. Hard work is part of the equation. So is passion. So are all these different things, but it's really about working smarter, right? And I asked you earlier if you're a hard worker, because this system does not work for lazy people. This work will not work for lazy people. It works only if you're willing to actually put in the work. But what we're going to do is we're not just going to work hard, we're going to work smart. And what we're going to do that is get to the real root of our stress problem. I'm going to share 5 different warning signs that stress is a serious problem. And I'm going to tell you about the most common mistake I see stressed out people make so that you can avoid it. We're going to talk about how to release your stress pattern with a science-backed strategy, because I'm a math and science nerd. I never thought I would be doing the work that I do now. I mean, I was all into the analytics and, much more left-brained, but these tools that I've discovered help you to get better sleep, better recovery, and to also find relief for yourself. And I like that it's fast. So I'm going to teach you a technique that you can use to release that tension in your body. You're going to feel better in literally 90 seconds. That's going to happen in the next hour for us all. And then we're going to talk about how to take more empowered action. So how can we improve our performance even in high pressure situations, even when the stress is high, even when things are difficult? How can we get even better results? That's my focus. So before we do that, let's get into what stress is. Let's talk about stress, baby. Let's talk about you and me. So as we look at stress, one of the things that I've found to be really interesting is that I was a person who thought I thrived on stress. I was all about pushing that. There's like an adrenaline that comes when you're stressed out, right? And I was all about working hard, right? And being willing to push through any stress that came my way. But I learned, this is from the Harvard Business Review, and it was a study done by Robert M. Yerkes and John D. Dodson, and they created a law they called it Yerkes-Dodson law. And this is a measure of our performance based on stress. And man, when I saw this, I was like, what? Because here I saw myself, right? Like thinking I was pushing against the stress, like allowing myself to keep working harder, do all these different things. And I was wondering why the curve wasn't just keeping on going up. Why was it starting to dip down? And I realized that there were actually ways that stress was holding me back. So my over-reliance on hard work, my thinking that I was thriving on stress was part of the problem I was having. And so why I'm talking about this is because there are actually two different kinds of stress, right? So the stress that I was thriving on, eustress, and then there's distress. So distress, we can tend to think of as a negative thing. We know that it decreases our performance, it leads to mental and physical problems. And one of the other things I think is very important to know is that it can either be a short-term or a long-term form of stress. Now, this is very different from eustress. Eustress is that positive stress, right? We feel motivated, we feel focused, we feel, like we feel excited, and we feel like we can cope in the situation. We see improvements in performance, but the thing is, it's only short term. That is a very important part of this. So remember, here I was pushing the stress harder and harder, working harder and harder, wondering why my performance was dipping, why my health was getting worse. Not understanding that even the positive stress that I was focusing on only had short-term benefits. If I was going to keep pushing that long-term, it would end up being that negative form of stress. And that's why we see that dip in the curve in that Yerkes-Dodson law. So I want to know, I'm going to open up the chat here. Can I see the chat? I don't think I can. I can't see the chat. Okay, that's fine. I want to know what's stressing you out. Let's see, can I see the stress? So I'm gonna stop my share for a second. I want to know what in your life seems like it's stressing you out. Is it work? Is it family? Is it your health? Tell me about what's stressing you out. I want to see it. Show me in the chat. Caregiving for parents, my business is stressing me out. Nursing school, not being able to work as much midterms week, school is stressing us out. Recent death of your brother, I'm so sorry to hear that, Kathy. Work, marriage is stressing you out. Neighbors, house, noise, parties, exams, holidays, right? Holidays, yes, absolutely. Money, work-life balance, being there for our family, the current news, yes. Interview for medical school, my mom's illness, high workload, family responsibilities. Yes, Zaria, overload of school assignments, balancing work, school, relationships, and life. The recent death of my brother, heart problems. Oh, a ravaging flood in Nigeria. I'm sorry to hear about that, Ruth. Yeah, so there are so many different things that are contributing to our stress. And maybe that's why you can relate to this lady in the picture, right? It's like, there's just all this stuff that's weighing you down. All these external things. Keep it going in the chat too. I won't be able to see it, but I will pay attention and look at what you're writing later. And thank you so much for sharing in the chat with me. So yeah, we want to just notice and acknowledge all of that stress, everything that is affecting us right now. But what I want to do here, right, as we share the first tip, is to get to the real root of the stress problem. Let's get to the real root, right? Because maybe just like with our health problems, sometimes we address the symptoms and we're not actually addressing the cause. And if we want to stop the stress problem, we got to get to the root of it. That way we can cut it out and have a different result. So I want you in the chat to share with me what it feels like when you're stressed out. So I'm gonna close this window again for a second. I want to just see, what does it feel like in your body when you're stressed out? You know, you may notice shortness of breath, you may notice, your health is affected. Go ahead and share with me in the chat. I want to know, what does stress feel like for you in your body? Your heart, yes. Oh, yeah, Susan. Zaria says anxiety, headaches, short fuse. Cheryl says an anxious, panicky feeling. Christiane is feeling tired and dizzy. There's a tension headache for Ruth. Susan Lane can't breathe. Ginny has high blood pressure. Cynthia feels tired and hungry with anxiety. Adrian Zaria agrees with Zaria. Kathy has anxiety, chest pain, pounding heart, hyperventilating. Michelle says anxiety, panic attacks. Michelle has also hot flashes of anger, tension headaches, panic attacks from Celine Dion. Shortness of breath for Jessica, headaches, exhaustion, extra hungry, constant uneasiness. I love that. Fatigue, difficulty concentrating for Kristen. Star says tense neck, can't sleep, tired, headaches, hives. Oh, Star, I'm with you on the hives, right? And then Nisa says, when I'm stressed, I tend to forget to eat. I hyperventilate. I have headaches. Yes. Oh, that's what it feels like when we're stressed out, right? Oh, and it is hard. But let's talk about what's really happening. So when we're stressed out, there's a part of our body that feels like it's in danger. And this is a part of our brain. There's a part of our brain called the amygdala that when it senses danger moves into survival mode. So even though the stresses of day-to-day life that we mentioned right now, like what's going on in the world, school, exams, work, business, money, work-life balance, even those things that are stressors, even though we may know consciously that they're not life-threatening, the way that our brain processes that is like there's extreme danger that's happening to us. And because our brain believes that we're under extreme danger, it actually sends our body into a different state. It sends it into survival mode. And in order, if our body is worried about us surviving, thinking we might not make it to the next day, right, or even the next hour, what it does is it starts to change its resources. So instead of allowing for our long-term functions like our immune system, our endocrine system, our gastrointestinal system to operate like normal, what actually happens is it shifts all those resources to other systems. So it actually shifts to our musculoskeletal system, it shifts to our cardiovascular system. That's why we're feeling that anxiousness, that the shortness of breath, or we might feel chest pains or all that kind of stuff. What's happening is that there are actually 5 different ways that stress will affect our body. So it's affecting our musculoskeletal, respiratory, cardiovascular system, right? All of those get all of that extra energy. But in order for those parts of our body to have that, our body has to pull that energy from somewhere else. So it shuts down our long-term functions. The other stuff, it doesn't matter if I can't digest my food right this second in our body's mind, right? Or in our body's logic, because I have to worry about if I'm going to get through the next few minutes. So stress has a direct impact on our body. And why this matters is that over time, what'll happen is we'll see dis-ease in the mind, right? So this distress in the mind, this dis-ease will manifest as disease in the body. So that thing that's happening in our mind, all of this stress will actually start to show up as disease. It might be depression, anxiety, personality disorders, heart disease, high blood pressure, heart attack, stroke, autoimmune disease. I'm going to raise my hand for the ones that I find. So I have autoimmune disease. I've struggled with depression and anxiety. I've struggled with obesity, other eating disorders. I don't have any of these gastrointestinal things. So GERD, gastritis, ulcerative colitis, irritable colon, sexual dysfunction can happen, menstrual problems, impotence, premature ejaculation, loss of sexual desire. We can also see impacts on our skin with the endocrine system, right? So maybe there's more acne, psoriasis, eczema, permanent hair loss, right? You know, unlike the temporary hair loss I had, and then also chronic pain. So chronic pain, that was also me. And I had the temporary hair loss. You know, there were a lot of things. And when I saw this list of things that could be related to my stress, because I was going to doctor after doctor after doctor, maybe you can relate to going to like a million doctors to figure out what's wrong and being like, and all of them telling you, you know, different things. You have to take different medicines just to feel better. And it's like, you know, you spend so much time at the doctor. It's like you barely have time to work or do any of the other things that you need to do. And I want to point these out because even if you might not have some of these, you might also see some of these patterns in your family. So notice if you see any of these patterns in your family. If you know somebody who experiences a lot of stress or tension and they're having some of these issues. And I mentioned this not to scare you, but to say, like, you know, if we want to look at our family and see, like, you know, if they're further down the road than we are, what are we maybe setting ourselves up for if we don't address the stress? So pay attention to what, you know, maybe you're seeing some of this stuff in your family. I don't know how this is showing up for you. And I want to point this out. This is a formula that we can use for changing our results. And it's actually what creates or causes our results. So we start with these thoughts, right? Of there's something that is stressful in our world, there's some form of danger. And then we feel the stress. And then while we're in this state of stress, this is where we actually take action. Okay. And then we have results. That causes our results. Now, many people, when they're stressed out and they feel like, oh my God, there's all this stress, they don't know about these thoughts and the feelings. So they just take that action, right? They go on vacation, they take a break, they change jobs, they move, thinking that that's going to solve the problem. But then finding that they're still stressed out. They still have those stress results. They're still freaking out, right? So then they try to change more things and all that, but they're not actually addressing the root of the problem, which is their thinking. They're not actually looking at how are they thinking about stress and how could that be contributing to the stress problem that they have. And that's the root of the problem that we're talking about. So again, most people, they tend to focus just on action and trying to change their external world of stress around them. And what I'm inviting you to do is to look at how can I change the inner world? Because if I can change the inner world, the thoughts and the feelings, that's going to have an impact on my action and ultimately on my results. And that's where we're going to see actual change. So if you found yourself stuck in a cycle here, I'm inviting you, instead of just focusing on action, to start to look at your thoughts and your feelings as well. And these happen to be 8 beliefs that I find a lot of times when I work with clients can keep you stuck, right? So this idea that we just got to keep going, that we just got to keep working harder. Maybe you feel like you're the only one who can do it, right? I don't need help. It's just faster, easier, or better if I do it myself. Maybe it feels like you can never give up, or that you can do it alone. Or maybe you keep saying to yourself, you know, I'm fine. I can handle it. Or maybe you're looking at things and you're saying it's not working. Or, you know, when it comes to thinking about ways to change your lifestyle, maybe you doesn't feel like you have the time or the energy for yourself. These beliefs, these are subconscious thoughts that you've repeated perhaps over time. Maybe these are ideas that you've gotten from your family, from your friends, from society, that actually keep you stuck in stress for even longer. So what we want to do to stop the stress cycle is we have to stop it first in our mind. We have to start to notice these thoughts that have been holding us back. And at the very end, I'm going to share a gift with you that you can actually use to start to change these thoughts in your mind, to change your reaction, so that you can actually start feeling better now. So let's talk about this second tip. So I want to help you release this stress pattern with a science-backed strategy. This is how we're all going to start to feel better, literally in 90 seconds. But before we do that, I want you to just notice if you ever feel lazy or unproductive. I know that, you know, like when I take a break sometimes, or I'm taking vacation, right? It's like you go on vacation, you're relaxing, but then you come back and it's like you feel more stressed when you come back, because you think about all the work that you missed while you were on vacation. So even though you felt a little better for a little while, ultimately you're not feeling better in the long term. You're feeling worse. So notice if you ever feel lazy or unproductive, because again, you'll probably notice rarely is it that people who are lazy feel that way, right? They're not worried about being lazy. They're the people who tend to worry or stress about feeling lazy or unproductive are hardworking people. We're the ones who don't want that, right? So notice that that's a place where we're feeling stuck in our feelings, right? Where our feelings are affecting our actions. Where remember, we went on vacation, right? Thinking we'd feel better. We felt better for a little while, but long term, we feel even more stressed because of all the work that we missed. So what we want to do is start to really give ourselves tools to feel better. And one of the tools that I discovered, and again, right, I was tired of going to a million doctors. And I was like, I don't want to just take a million pills, have to get a million shots to the head for the hair loss. I want something different. And so what I was looking for was a different kind of healing. And that's what brought me to thought field therapy. Thought field therapy is a form of energy psychology. This is a field of study that was first developed 40 years ago by Dr. Roger Callahan. And again, because I'm a math and science nerd, what appealed to me about this was that you could see statistically significant results in a decrease in heart rate variability, in cortisol, which is the stress hormone. And then as a 9/11 survivor, what also appealed to me was seeing that this was helping people who had been through way worse things than me. So these clinical trials, they were actually done with Rwandan genocide victims back from 1991. And they were done with veterans of PTSD. So people who, in my mind, had been through way worse things than I had, their results were studied when it came to stress, and they were experiencing these differences, results in minutes, and they were doing it without medication. Oh, wow. So it was not just in negative emotions, it was also psychological problems more. I've used this with my depression. I've used it with the anxiety. I've used it in a lot of different ways with my clients. And, they'll say, like we do a single session together and in 30 minutes, their anxiety can go down from a 10 to a 1. So if you guys are in for a little bit of that, we're going to have an experiment or a chance to really test this for ourselves, because I want for you to feel the difference and for you to be able to measure the difference that you have for yourself. So I want you to notice right now in your body where you might be feeling any pain or tension. Maybe you feel it, some of the common places with stress are in your neck, in your shoulders, in your, maybe you're having like a tension headache. Maybe you're feeling it in your back, in your hands. Notice any pain or tension that you're feeling right now. And I'm not going to look right now. I'm going to look at the end, but I just want for you to also put into the chat where you feel that in your body. Just put down in the chat where you feel that. Is it in your back? Is it in your shoulders? Is it in your hands? These are some of the places I felt the tension, but I want you to tell me right now where you feel the tension. Just notice that for yourself. Notice where your stress is showing up. Perfect. I see it in the chat. I promise to check it in just a moment, but I want for you to identify that. Now I want for you, we're going to do an instant stress reliever exercise. That's what my mentor calls it. And it's called the eye roll. Now this is not suitable for anybody who has issues with retinal detachment. So if you have pain while moving your eyes, this is not going to be, you can do this, but you don't want to do it with the eye movements. But the eye movements are actually going to help us to access different parts of our subconscious. Because if you notice, like when you have a memory or something, sometimes like you look up or you look down, what's happening there is that you're actually accessing memories in different parts of your brain, or you're actually accessing different parts of your brain. So we're going to move our eyes around to access different parts of our brain so that we can feel even better. Now, the first step here, so we did that a little bit, right? So I asked you to notice the pain or tension in your body right now. You've put it into the chat for me. Thank you. I'm going to ask you just for yourself to give it a rating on a scale from 0 to 10. You can maybe put that into the chat if you want. I'll ask you for, at the end, if it decreased, how it feels, all that kind of stuff. But you just want to take note of that rating that you have. So note how high as you notice that tension in your body. So you wrote down where it is. And you're going to give it a rating on a scale from 0 to 10. with 10 being the highest. Just give it a rating. Whatever the number that comes to you first is fine. There's no need for us to worry about it or spend too much time thinking about it. Just give it a rating. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to tap on this spot on the back of your head. It's called the gamut spot. So I'm going to show you on my hand. So right between my ring and my pinky finger, on the back of my hand, there's like a groove here. Okay. And you can either rub it like this, or you can tap on it with 2 fingers. You're just tapping very gently. Okay. And while you tap on this point, I'm going to invite you to move your eyes without moving your head. So you're going to start by looking all the way down at the floor while tapping on the gamut spot on the back of your hand. And I want you to move your eyes upwards to where the floor meets the wall. Now you're going to move your eyes all the way up the wall, slowly, 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 till it meets the ceiling. So when you're at the point where the wall meets the ceiling, now I'm going to ask you to keep moving your eyes up into the back of your head as you move your eyes all the way across the ceiling, almost until you're like eye rolling. Okay. Whew. All right. Now we're going to do that on the other hand. So same thing on the other hand. So between your ring and your pinky finger on the back of your hand, you'll feel that groove. You can either tap on it or rub on it, whatever feels better to you. And you're going to look down, as far down as you can look, and you're going to start to move your eyes up the floor while tapping on the back of the gamut spot or rubbing on the back of the gamut spot, whatever feels better, till you reach where the floor meets the wall. And when you see where the floor meets the wall, now you're going to move your eyes up the wall slowly until you see where the wall meets the ceiling. And then now that you're looking at where the wall meets the ceiling, you're going to actually move your eyes across the ceiling all the way back until your eyes kind of roll back into your head. Just keep breathing through that, breathing from your diaphragm. And whenever you're ready, now you're going to stop tapping. Take a couple deep breaths. And I want you to notice how your body feels now. And I'm going to ask you in the chat to tell me, how, if the rating decreased. So if the rating decreased in some way, if you notice that your shoulder blade feels a little different, or behind the eyes feels different, or your head feels different, I want you to just put a yes into the chat. If your neck feels a little less tension, your shoulders, your neck, your head, I'm looking now at everything that you guys are writing, your back, your neck, and your traps. I see for Kristen, yes, Trudy O'Brien's saying, yeah, her upper back and shoulders. Yes, great, awesome, right? And notice that took us, what, 90 seconds? Yeah, less tension overall, says Michelle. So does Adrian. Win feels better. Yen feels better. Michelle feels better. Star, Menchian, Wendy, Kristen, Kathy, Cheryl, Cynthia, awesome. Awesome work. Notice that we were able to feel less tension in our body. And what we're really doing here is we're understanding that our body, right? So we talked about our mind being part of a system. We're actually part of a mind-body energy system. And so what we're doing with energy psychology is we're recognizing this mind-body energy system. And if you liked that exercise, at the very end, I'm going to give you access to something so that you can do that exercise anytime you want. You can do it even on your own, but I'm going to give you a guided exercise as well that you can use to do that again for yourself anytime. I actually really like to do this when I'm about to go to sleep. If I have like racing thoughts and stuff, or I find a lot of tension in my body, I'll just be laying down. I'll look all the way down and kind of move my head up all the way until my eyes roll back, and then I'll do the other hand. And that'll help you find it even easier to relax and to sleep. So just letting go of that little bit of tension will make it easier for your body to move into relaxation right before you go to bed. So that's another way that you can recover from some of that tension in your body, have better rest like we promised. And I told you we were going to do it before the end of the hour. So congratulations. I'm really glad that you're feeling better. And we're going to talk now about tip 3. Oh, this one is an important one. So how do we take better action, more empowered action, so we can get better results, even in high pressure situations? So I mentioned to you that I happen to be right there on 9/11. But one of my mentors, Tony Robbins, he actually was in Hawaii at the time. So Tony Robbins was in Hawaii at the time of 9/11. And he woke up later in the day, you know, to find out all of these crazy things that had happened. And he was actually leading a retreat out here. And he brought everybody together for the retreat. And he noticed that everybody had a completely different reaction to the same piece of news, to the same stressor, if you will. Some people were angry, some people were worried, some people were, you know, sad. Everybody had a completely different response to the same exact event. And what he did was he asked them, you know, if this tended to be the way that they felt right now about 9/11 on the day that it was happening, if that tended to be the way that they responded in any stressful situation, did the person who was angry tend to get angry whenever something stressed them out? Did the sad person tend to get sad every time that something stressed them out? Did the anxious person tend to get anxious every time every time that stress came into their lives? And what he found was that many of us have what he calls a favorite flavor of suffering. And we talked a little bit earlier about how it's almost like we're addicted to stress in a way. And we actually can see addiction as a repeated use or response to or ingestion of some behavior or substance that relieves discomfort. So if you think about that angry person who, it's like no matter what happens, they're always angry, or the sad person, no matter what happens, they're always sad, or the worried person, it's like no matter what happens, they're always worried. We have a form of emotional addiction that happens. And part of why this happens, right, is because if we understand everything as energy, and we see our thoughts as forms of energy that happen through electrical synapses in our mind, or if we look at our emotions as energy in motion, we can see even, you know, there's chemical responses that are happening in our body. And what happens there, right, is that our bodies actually become reliant upon an absorption in the brain and neurological patterns that produce a flood of feelings. So it's like our body gets addicted to these chemicals that are being released by anger, by worry, by sadness. And it happens in response to neurotransmitter cell firings and thresholds. So our body can get so addicted to this. It's like it's looking for things to get angry about. It's looking for things to get sad about. It's looking for things to get worried about. And what I think is also very interesting about this is that there's actually a means of us measuring the energy of emotion. So there's actually a scale that measures the frequency of positive and negative affect. And it's both a positive scale and a negative scale. And if you look, the results will have confirmed that there's good psychometric properties, conversion validity, and that it can be used in future studies of well-being. So as we're looking at improving our health, we want to look at what is our favorite flavor of suffering? What is your favorite flavor of suffering? And you may want to pay attention to, many of us have some form of negative emotion that we're kind of relating to stressful situations. So maybe we're feeling anger, or we're feeling fear or grief or guilt or shame. And maybe if you look at this, you can see these overall emotions, you know, anxiety, regret, despair. And maybe this kind of lines up with your life view. What's interesting here is that, again, we're measuring this in hertz. We're actually measuring these as forms of energy. So this is the dominant level of energy, right? Our favorite flavor is like the thing that we're eating the most, if you will, right? So it's like the steady diet that we tend to be on. And what's interesting about this is most people don't realize they have a favorite flavor or thing that they keep feeding themselves and consuming over and over again. And most times it's some form of negative emotion like this. And what we want to do is we want to start feeding our mind more of these positive emotions so that over time, that can become what our body starts to crave and look for. And I'll tell you, I thought that this made no sense when I first learned it, but I used to be a really, really negative person. And I found that by feeding my brain more gratitude, more love, more of these positive emotions, you know, really looking even in bad situations for what was positive, so I could be thinking positive thoughts, that allowed for me to feel more of these different ways that were positive. So by trying to feed my brain, right, it's as if I'm trying to go on a diet of more positive thoughts. And I don't believe in only having positive thoughts, right? Real life is both bitter, sour, and sweet. So we don't just, when bad things happen, it's not that we want to say, oh, nothing bad is happening, but we want to say, okay, there is some bad here, but where is the good? What is the positive in the situation? What can I be grateful for? Because that's going to start to shift our emotional state from that negative, that's our default, into a more positive state. And that's going to give us more of an ability to make positive decisions in the future. Because if we look at, what we talked about with the results formula, I'll show that to you again in a second. You can see how those thoughts, the positive thoughts, if they are evoking more positive feeling, then we can take more positive action, and then we can have more positive results. So if we're thinking less thoughts of stress, having less of those sort of emotions that we're feeding ourselves over and over again, then we're not taking action out of stress. And then that way we're not just perpetuating that stress cycle that we've been stuck in. Now, I want you to think about this too in the sense of COVID, because to make more empowered decisions, one of the examples I like to give is something we all lived through. So through COVID, right? All of us were put in this place where we're glued to the news and we're focused on everything that's going wrong in the world. And again, it's not to say that there's nothing going wrong in the world, right? It's that the truth is that there's almost always something going wrong in the world. And that even if there's not something going wrong right now, we know that there's going to be future things that are going to be going wrong later. Like we know that it's not just going to be like sunshine and rainbows from here on out. There's going to be something negative that happens in life, right? So when that was happening, did you notice, especially those of you in the US, you probably saw more of this than those of you who are coming from internationally. But what we saw here in the US was a ton of people who were focusing on the fear, right? And the news and the media, their job, as much as it is to inform us, it also is to keep our eyeballs glued to the screen. So when they're feeding us fear, right, and they're stoking those different emotions inside us, it's like we're glued to the screen. We're trying to take control of the situation, and we feel like with information we're going to get more control. But as we talked about, right, like, so our results there, if we're just allowing what's going on outside our world to control our thinking, that then controls our feeling, right? So we're feeling really stressed out. We're feeling really fearful. We're feeling, very uncertain. And then we take actions from that place of fear, uncertainty, and all that kind of stuff. And then that just leads to more negative results. So what I'm inviting us to do instead is to shift this thinking, right? To stop this cycle and say, okay, there are bad things that are going on in my world right now, but what is going good? Maybe it's spending more time with family, being able to slow down in life, right? And not have to work at the same clip that we were working before. There were good things that came out of COVID. There are good things in every situation. No situation is purely bitter. There's always a little bit of sweet there. So what we're looking for is we're trying to find that positive ingredient that we can extract from the situation that we're in. And what we do as we do that is that allows for us to think better, think more clearly, less stress, so we're not feeling as stressed and negative, and then we're taking more positive action and getting better results. Whereas if we continue to just sink down into the negative, right, into that, if this is the positive scale and this is the negative scale, if we're allowing ourselves to go to that default place of negativity, right, oh no, well, look at all these things that are going wrong, I'm losing control, we're feeling more like that. And then we're taking action from a place where we're trying to gain control and clasp at anything so that we can feel like we're in control again. And then that just leads to more negative results. And so what I invite you to do is, instead of just going back to your favorite flavor of suffering when you notice something is stressing you out, notice now that you know what your favorite flavor of suffering is, you can avoid making toilet paper decisions. So in the US, right, you saw on the TV all these empty shelves, and there were all these news articles and things like that about how there was no more toilet paper and there was a toilet paper shortage, or whatever those sort of things were. And that kind of fear led people to try to take control and make sure, well, I got to have toilet paper. I don't know what toilet paper has to do with COVID, but I need to make sure that I'm taking control or doing something. And so many people were making what I call toilet paper decisions. And rather than come from that place of fear, anxiety, stress, etc., we really want to come from a place of rationality, right? And this also reminds me, I mentioned being part of the global markets during the time of the global financial crisis. There's something that investor Warren Buffett said that has always really struck me. Be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful. So whatever the masses are doing, whatever the masses of sheeple are doing in a stressful time, I always stop myself and think, if everybody else is just reacting out of default with their favorite flavor of suffering, how can I stop myself from just being part of the herd, doing the same thing that everybody else is doing? And how can I make a smarter decision? And this is something that has yielded Warren Buffett, in terms of his investments, tons of success where other people have not been as successful. He will look for, where are people acting out of fear? And where can I start to act more intelligently when I see people doing that? And oftentimes it's, when you're seeing the masses go in a certain way, consider to yourself, is this really smart? Is this what I want to do? Is this who I want to be? And that will allow for you, instead of making those default decisions, to start to make better decisions that'll pay off for you in the long term. So again, let's recap. So these 3 tips to boost your performance and your well-being and to have more stress relief now. Pay attention to how you think about stress. Remember that dis-ease in the mind is going to manifest as disease in the body, and that is the real root of the problem. So if you're looking for what's going on, you want to start to interrupt those thoughts of negativity, of stress, of fear, and start to plant more positive thoughts into that place instead. Release the stress that you feel in your body, so you can actually break free from those subconscious stress patterns that manifest in your body when you understand that you're not just a mind-body system. You're not just a body. You're actually a mind-body energy system, and you can use that exercise that I taught you to feel better without necessarily going to medication. And that's thought field therapy. Again, one of the energy healing forms that I'm certified in, and energy psychology. So the other form of thought field therapy, or other form of energy psychology that a lot of people know, is emotional freedom technique, EFT. And I'm actually going to give you a tool so that you can use either thought field therapy or energy psychology to help you to feel better in your body. And then lastly, instead of just reacting like everybody else is, like the masses of sheeple who are buying toilet paper when toilet paper has nothing to do with the problem, we want to take more empowered action. Notice what your personal favorite flavor of suffering is. We all have one. Mine is anger. And we want to shift to a positive state first. And remember, how we do that is by starting at the root of the problem with how we're thinking. So we want to start to interrupt those negative thought patterns and start to ingest or consume more positive thoughts. We want to feed that to ourselves so that we can start to feel better and take more positive action. So I'm curious, I want to know, as you guys are looking at the old way that you lived versus the new way that you want to live, if you guys are willing to work smarter instead of working harder. If you're in for that, go ahead into the chat. I want to see you type yes, if that's you. So go ahead and type into the chat if you're willing to work smarter instead of just working harder to get rid of stress. Yes, I see it. Awesome. Yes, let's work smarter against our stress instead of just working harder, right? If we're finding ourselves stuck in that loop of just feeling worse, let's start feeling better. So I want to invite you, this is my free gift. I'm going to ask Crystal to throw it into the chat. It's called the Burnout Survival Kit. And this is for us in the case of burnout, if it's gotten that extreme, but it's also available to us if we were trying to just avoid burnout, right? So rather than just let one match light all the rest, what we want to do is we want to stop that pattern. And I'm going to give you 4 stress tested tools so you can go from surviving to thriving. This is about, again, right, just like we experienced for ourselves, instant relief, right? So relief where we feel the difference in our body in literally just 90 seconds. That's a tool that we can use, right? And again, that's part of this kit. And to break through that burnout cycle with proven strategies that yield long-term results. So again, this is about you not just feeling good today, but about you feeling good tomorrow and every day past today. And again, like I said, so you'll get that stress relief in 90 seconds meditation that we did earlier. That's guided. Of course, you can just do it on your own anytime you want. But if you want something that's guided, what's nice about this is you'll actually have access to it on your phone. So you can literally just watch this guided meditation anytime you want to feel better. I also included a 4-step system that I use to help you attract more support now. So if it feels like you can't, like you've got to do it all by yourself, if it feels like the support that you're getting is not quality enough, and that's part of why you're so stressed, all that kind of stuff. This is based on the manifestation magnet system that I use with my one-on-one clients to help them get unstuck when they're feeling, stuck in a place where they, their results look like no support, right? So how do we start to think more positively about that? That's the 4-step system we can use to attract more support right now. I also mentioned in the very beginning, some of those limiting beliefs that I find to be really common or things that a lot of times we are thinking, right? And as we keep believing or thinking those beliefs, they become thinking those thoughts, they actually get embedded into our subconscious as beliefs. So if we find those to be blocks that, we are experiencing for ourselves, there's actually an EFT, emotional freedom technique, another energy psychology form, exercise that you can do in the burnout survival kit to help you release those past blocks. And then the last and probably the most important gift, if you really want to get over that feeling of like, nobody is here to support me, I'm all alone in this. If you really want to feel better in every situation, I find the most important thing is to actually reach out for support. So you actually get a free one-on-one consultation with me just for attending this class, just for registering for this. I only have a couple of limited spots that are coming up right now, but no matter what, you have access to this to book some free time with me. And again, Crystal has put the link into the chat. So this is a free gift that you can get for yourself to help you manage your stress. It has all of these different components. You can use one of them, you can use all of them. The more you use these tools, the better your results and your health and your performance can be. And again, what I love about this is that you can access this on your computer, you can access this on your phone. And that means, when you have just 2 minutes or something, you can go here, right here, tap your stress relief in 90 seconds meditation, watch the video and feel better fast. And if you're wanting to feel even better, more positive emotion, instead of staying on that negative, instead of staying in that favorite flavor of suffering of you can use this. And again, you also have tools to break through any of the subconscious blocks that you have as well. And then of course, there's a consultation call that you can get as well. So if you're serious about improving your performance and your health, please do download that kit. It's a free gift for you. Crystal has put the link into the chat for you. This is something that's really meant to help you. These are tools that when I was burned out and sick and losing my hair and struggling with anxiety that I wish I had. And again, these are tools that as I've shared them with my clients, as I've shared them with other people, they find that they themselves are able to feel so much better. And sometimes it just takes a single 30-minute session. And once you have those tools, the best part is you have them for life. Now that you know the stress relief in 90 seconds meditation, you can do it for life. You have a tool that you can always use anytime you're feeling tension in your body to experience some relief and release. And that is a gift that just keeps on giving. And that's the kind of gifts I like to give. So I hope you take me up on my offer, that you accept this free gift from me. I give it with love. I really hope that that you feel that from me. And it's just proof of how much you can really do when you're willing to change your life. And a couple of ways that you can stay in contact with me as well. If you want to, just are looking for some positive inspiration, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm Savor Life with Diana, or on Facebook at Savor Life with Diana. And for those of you who choose to follow me, I'm super upfront about what is going on in my life. I love to be really honest about what we're going through. So you'll find out about some of the negative things that I'm actually going through right now and how I'm using these same tools that I'm sharing with you to actually feel even better, to take control of the negative situation that I'm in right now. Because again, it's not that life is perfect and sweet all the time. It's that we have an ability to extract the good from what it is that we have. And I'm just going to close with a really quick story. For those of you, if you've ever watched Top Chef, you know, when they have on Top Chef, they have like one of those exercises where or like one of the challenges where they have to use like ingredients from a vending machine, right? So they're not getting to work with the Wagyu beef and the truffles and the fancy ingredients. They have to work with like junk food or something like that, right? And there are always those chefs in those challenges who complain, right? They're like, oh, this sucks. Like, I can't do anything with this. This is junk, right? And the chef who always wins that challenge is someone who's willing to look at those junk ingredients and find something good about them. Maybe it's the crunchiness of something, or it's you know, it's the flavor of something. And they extract that little bit of good in these junk ingredients to create something else. And we have that ability to do that with our life, because life is full flavor. It's bitter, it's sour, it's sweet, and we get to choose how much sweetness we put into life. And I hope that you choose to do that. So thank you again. It's such a pleasure to be with you today. Download the free gift and definitely follow me on social media. I'd love to stay connected with you. Thank you. Thank you, Nisa. Thank you, Menchan. Thank you, Adrian. Thank you, Win. Thank you, Inga. Thank you, Zaria. Thank you, Mary Lou. Thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Susan, Kathy, Adrian, Cynthia, Michelle, Yen, Jessica, Trudy. I appreciate you all. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Diana, and thank you, everyone. Hope you had a great time and have a great rest of your week, okay? Aloha.
Aloha.